What if the one thing an empire trusts most is the very thing that destroys it? In the stillness before dawn, when history holds its breath, there are moments when strength becomes a hidden fault line. Rome once seemed immovable to all who lived under its shadow. Yet on a single morning in the late 3rd century BCE, that certainty cracked as one commander turned Rome's power into the deadliest trap it would ever face. Hannibal Barca of Carthage emerged in this world of rivalry and ambition sometime around 247 BCE, born into a family already marked by conflict with Rome. His father, Hamilcar, had fought in the First Punic War, and some historians believe that Hannibal's childhood experiences near the Carthaginian war front left a lasting imprint on him. By the time he assumed command of Carthaginian forces in Iberia around 221 BCE, the Mediterranean had become a landscape defined by expanding power, contested borders, and uneasy alliances. Carthage struggled to retain influence after its earlier defeat, while Rome reached steadily outward, binding new territories into its orbit. The tension between these two powers formed the terrain on which Hannibal began to shape his ambitions. The geography of his world stretched from the rugged mountains of Iberia to the shifting political frontiers of northern Italy. Records suggest that the Carthaginian presence in Iberia had grown not only as an economic venture, but also as a strategic counterbalance to Rome's control of Sicily and its influence along the western Mediterranean. Hannibal, inheriting this position, became increasingly convinced that Rome would continue its eastward and northward expansion until Carthage itself was marginalized beyond recovery. His desire, therefore, centered on shifting the balance of power before Rome's growing strength closed every opportunity for resistance. But striking at Rome required more than battlefield success. It demanded a vision that could disrupt Roman expectations. Rome's army was renowned for its discipline, its training, and its ability to recover from defeat. Its adaptability had already been tested across decades of conflict. Confronting such a force on predictable terms almost certainly meant failure. Hannibal understood this. He sought not merely to fight Rome, but to unsettle the very foundation of Roman confidence. To accomplish this, he believed he needed to bring the war directly into Italy, forcing Rome to defend its homeland rather than dictate the terms of engagement abroad. The obstacle facing him was immense. Between Iberia and Italy rose the towering spine of the Alps, a natural barrier that many in the ancient world considered impossible for large armies to cross. It is unclear whether Hannibal fully grasped the dangers before he began the march, but his decision displayed a willingness to embrace risks that few commanders of his time would have considered. As his army advanced in 218 BCE, composed of infantry, cavalry, and according to some accounts, a small number of war elephants, they moved through harsh terrain, enduring ambushes from local tribes, brutal weather, and constant attrition. Ancient writers describe the journey as a trial that cost Hannibal a significant portion of his force. Yet those who survived descended into Italy hardened by ordeal and unified by the extraordinary feat they had achieved. Once in the Italian peninsula, Hannibal began a series of maneuvers designed to exploit Rome's response. Rome, committed to its traditions of direct confrontation and confident in its superior manpower, sent consular armies to challenge him. In 218 BCE, at the river Trebia, Hannibal used feigned retreats and concealed troops to overwhelm a larger Roman force. The following year, at Lake Trasimene, he trapped another Roman army between the lake's narrow shoreline and his own hidden formations, defeating it in an ambush that some historians consider one of the largest of its kind in recorded history. These victories demonstrated Hannibal's mastery of terrain and timing, and they exposed the downside of Roman aggressiveness, an eagerness to engage that could be redirected against them. Yet Rome's strength remained formidable. Its population, recruitment systems, and reserve forces allowed it to withstand losses that would have crushed other states. Hannibal's main challenge lay not in defeating individual legions, but in altering the political landscape of Italy itself. He needed Rome's allies, Latin colonies, longtime partners, or recently subdued peoples, to abandon their loyalty and join his cause. Only then could Rome be isolated enough to collapse from within. Despite his victories, only a few regions shifted their allegiance, and many others hesitated. The obstacle was complex. Rome's alliance network had been built over generations, tied together by treaties, privileges, and shared interests. Breaking such bonds required more than battlefield triumphs. By 216 BCE, Hannibal recognized that he needed an event decisive enough to shake Italy's confidence in Rome's invincibility. This realization set the stage for the Battle of Cannae, a confrontation that would become one of the most studied engagements in military history. Rome, determined to bring Hannibal to heel, assembled what many sources describe as an exceptionally large force for the era, tens of thousands of infantry in deep, dense formations, supported by cavalry on both wings. The Romans believed that sheer weight and pressure could overwhelm Hannibal's troops. Their strength lay in their numbers and the cohesion of their heavy infantry. But in this confidence, Hannibal saw opportunity. He anticipated that Rome would attempt a massive frontal assault. Rather than avoid this force, he prepared to use its momentum against it. On the morning of the battle, as dust rose over the Apulian plain, Hannibal arranged his army in a configuration that some historians consider a calculated invitation. His center, composed of mixed troops including Iberians and Gauls, formed a convex arc that projected outward toward the Roman line. As the fighting began, this center gradually yielded, not in a rout but in a controlled, deliberate retreat, curving inward as Roman pressure increased. Rome's greatest strength, the relentless push of its heavy infantry, now drove them deeper into a formation that tightened around them. Hannibal's African infantry, positioned on the flanks with discipline and precision, pivoted inward to close the trap. At the same time, Carthaginian cavalry, having defeated the Roman cavalry on the wings, circled behind and sealed off the rear. Surrounded on all sides, the Roman force found itself compressed with little room to maneuver. Ancient accounts differ on the exact number of casualties, but many suggest that Rome suffered immense losses in a single day. Losses that reverberated across the Mediterranean and forced Rome to reconsider the nature of its struggle. This moment at Cannae represented the turning point in Hannibal's campaign, yet not in the way he intended. The victory had been stunning, and for many observers, it appeared to place Rome on the brink of collapse. Some historians believe that if more Italian allies had defected, or if Carthage had reinforced Hannibal promptly, the outcome of the Second Punic War might have taken a different path. But reinforcements did not arrive in the numbers he needed. Many Italian states, while shaken, chose to remain aligned with Rome, uncertain of Carthage's long-term ability to sustain the war. Rome, though devastated, quickly adapted. Under leaders such as Fabius Maximus and later Scipio Africanus, the Roman strategy shifted from direct confrontation to attrition, containment, and counterattack abroad. Hannibal, meanwhile, found himself increasingly constrained. His army remained in Italy for years after Cannae, but the momentum gradually shifted. Rome methodically reclaimed territories that had defected and strengthened its alliances. In time, Roman forces took the war back to Iberia and eventually to North Africa, forcing Carthage to recall Hannibal to defend the homeland. The decisive confrontation came in 202 BCE at Zama, where Scipio's forces triumphed, ending the war and curbing Carthage's influence for generations. The results of Hannibal's campaign, particularly the events at Cannae, shaped the historical landscape of the Mediterranean in ways that extended far beyond his lifetime. Rome's survival after such staggering defeats contributed to its evolution from a regional power into an empire that would dominate the Mediterranean for centuries. The Republic refined its military doctrines, strengthened its political institutions, and reinforced the loyalty of its allies. Hannibal's strategies, studied by commanders across centuries, influenced military thought from antiquity to the modern era. His ability to transform overwhelming Roman strength into a lethal vulnerability left a legacy that endured long after Carthage's decline. Yet the deeper impact lies in the human dimension of his story. Hannibal's journey illustrates the capacity of individual vision to challenge dominant powers, even in the face of immense obstacles. It shows how determination, ingenuity, and the willingness to embrace uncertainty can reshape the course of events, though not always in the direction intended. Rome's response, in turn, demonstrates how resilience, adaptation, and collective will can turn crisis into consolidation. In the end, the moment when Rome's strength became its deadliest trap was not merely a tactical achievement, but a reminder of the fragile balance within every empire. What appears unassailable can be undone by a mind that sees the world differently. And what seems a decisive triumph can become the hinge on which history changes direction. Hannibal had sought to alter the destiny of the Mediterranean, and though he did not achieve Carthage's ultimate victory, he reshaped Rome, influenced generations of thought, and left behind a chapter of history where brilliance met power in a contest that still echoes across time.